Hello, Trinity Fellowship. I am Paul Cole, one of the elders here at Trinity Fellowship, and also the chairperson for the search committee. First, I wanted to thank you for all of your prayers during this process. It's been incredibly meaningful to have the entire church praying over this process at home and on Sunday during church and as a church family. So thank you. God has certainly been at work through this entire process from beginning to end, and it's just been a joy to watch. 1.5 years ago, we had the congregational assessment where we had N.L. Moore come in here as we were preparing for Gary's retirement and to do that assessment to understand how things were going in our church, how healthy our church was, and what things looked for as we prepared for that retirement. And that assessment was excellent, and it told us we're in a very good state as a church and we're transformational in terms of a quadrant of health, which was good news. That input was really good that all of you provided. Additionally, a year ago, we started the screening process for the search team. It's hard to believe it's a year has gone by, but when we started screening team members, pulling the search team together, and then having N.L. Moore come in here in September of last year. Many of you were involved in the focus groups that went on when N.L. Moore was here. Thank you for being a part of those. That input was crucial and pivotal and very informative. N.L. Moore used that data as well as the search team in creating the opportunity profile and the candidate profile for our next senior pastor. The search team, huge thanks to them as well. They have just been an incredible group to work with. I've enjoyed getting to know them all at a deeper level and just blessed to work with such a group of fantastic people. Tons of involvement, positive energy, respect for one another. It has just been fantastic. That search group was then approved by the elders. And then this past fall, we kicked off a nationwide search for our next senior pastor for Trinity Fellowship. While N.L. Moore searched, we worked on our next level of questions and preparing our hearts and prayer for what God had in store, and trusting in the whole time that God would provide. N.L. Moore connected with 595 pastors in this process across the nation. That number certainly went down as these candidates had time to pray and investigate into the opportunity and consider whether they were called, if this was good timing for them, if they had unfinished work at their current church, and then also they need to understand if this is a good time or fit for their family. And then also, maybe Big Rapids, Michigan wasn't the fit for them, but God was at work through it all, continuing to take that large number of 595 potential people to help us get down to the person that should be our next senior pastor for Big Rapids and Newaygo. The search team was made up of candidates from both campuses, and their input and help along the way has just been fantastic. N.L. Moore invested an enormous amount of time in this process. Each candidate that they touched, there was 6 to 8 hours of discussion and interviews, going over their resume, validating their qualifications, a theological assessment, a DISC assessment, a strength assessment, watching and listening to sermons, and also we asked that each candidate provide a written response to our statement of faith and the balancing points for Trinity Fellowship. They additionally checked references, reviewed the opportunity and candidate profile, prayerfully and with wisdom discerning about which candidates to bring forward that they believe are a good fit based on what we are looking for at Trinity Fellowship. They then brought us a qualified pool of candidates, and they were a qualified pool. This was a good group from this nationwide search. They presented and gave us all of their homework that went into this. So we had copies of the assessments, copies of the written responses to our statement of faith and balancing points, and everything along the way, as well as links to their sermons and other things that we could view as a search team. As a search team, we chose not to discuss any of the candidates or what we thought over the profiles or the presentations that we were given or what we witnessed in sermons. Instead, we individually continued to look at these and pray over them, and then waited until after the video interviews to discuss this as a team. We used an anonymous survey through email to be able to collect that all information so that we weren't going to sway anybody else's opinions. And that way we could review that information together and read over it together without fear of being judged, which was a very good process for the team to use. As a team, the things that we were most interested in was to be open to God's calling. We wanted God's will to be done. We wanted it to be unanimous. We wanted to have full unity throughout this, complete confidence in the process, and throughout the process have peace. And the Lord sure worked in us throughout this whole process. It was a thrill to be a part of. The Lord just continued to work through video interviews and more video interviews and in-person interviews and in the elder meetings. After sessions, we would have scheduled debriefs where we pray quite a bit, discuss the candidates, and N.L. Moore was a part of those debriefs as well. After we had arrived at our recommendation, we made our recommendation to the elders, and the elders reviewed and came back 100% unanimous. I'm ecstatic and excited to share that after a year-long process, 595 candidates reviewed, that the search team has come back with a unanimous decision that we are thrilled and excited about, that we are confident in and in total peace. We are thrilled to recommend for the next senior pastor, our recommendation is Patrick Shea. Patrick, congratulations. You did not get a free ride in this process. You had to apply for this role through N.L. Moore and rise to those 595 candidates and work your way through all the way to the top group that was presented from N.L. Moore to the search team. You did a great job. Your scores and your assessments were as strong, if not stronger, than anyone else's in the group. It was clear through listening to you and your passion and the sermons and just the discussions that we had that God has been at work in you for a long time, and God has been getting you ready for this next process as our next senior pastor. It was clear. Patrick, we choose you and we will follow you. So, Trinity family, we are unanimous. We are at peace. We are confident, and we're excited. And we know you are excited too. And we'd like you to hear from Patrick Shea right now.
Hey, Trinity family, Newaygo, Big Rapids, and all those online. My name is Patrick Shea, and I am so thankful and glad to be able to share with you about this process now. It has been a long time coming. I remember coming to Trinity Fellowship, back to Trinity as a pastoral resident, and Gary taking me on as the first resident and mentoring me and training me up. And I knew then there was I could sense a call to be a lead pastor someday. And Gary was on board with training me up, getting me ready for wherever God might call me. And there was no sense of surety or confidence that it was going to be at Trinity back then. And that was 2013. And but I knew that God was working in my heart and in my life to get me ready at some point. And ever since then, God's been getting me ready. And so after being a pastoral resident, it was a clear calling to become the community life pastor at Big Rapids campus. Did that for a few years, leading connections in small groups and just diving full on to ministry at Trinity. And then after that, it was a clear calling where God had clearly led, equipped, called me. There was a need to become the Newaygo campus pastor in 2017. And that's where I have just passionately served and given my all as the Newaygo campus pastor for the last 8 years. Come Easter of this year, it will be 8 years that I have served at Nuevo campus. And in all of that, God has been stirring in my heart and working in me just a clear call to be a lead pastor, to have this vision of ministry and what that could look like. I wasn't for sure whether that was going to be at Trinity Fellowship, but I had this sense that God was going to use me as a senior pastor somewhere. And so I have been prayerfully exploring this call specifically to the senior pastor position at Trinity ever since, maybe even before it was officially announced by the elders and Gary that he was going to retire at some point in the next few years. So I entered into this process just full of prayer, and God has made it so clear. And throughout the process, I remember when people were asking, and I was wondering, Patrick, are you going to be able to be a senior pastor and leave Nuevo campus? Isn't that going to be hard? Wouldn't that, is that something? And I said, yeah, absolutely. That would be hard to leave Nuevo campus. My heart is at Nuevo campus, but my heart is with Trinity, and always has been Trinity, even beyond Nuevo campus and Big Rapids campus and all together. It'd be much harder to be called as a senior pastor somewhere else in a different church. And I knew, though, that even though I felt that call, was it a call of the elders and of leadership for what they were looking for in the next senior pastor? I wanted it to be a fit. Was this going to be a clear fit? And I knew a couple things. One is I love Gary, and Gary's so amazing, and he's so gifted. But if Trinity was looking for Gary 2.0, I knew that's not my fit. That's not me. Gary has such amazing gifts, and I have gifts that God has given me, and I didn't know what the next senior pastor profile, ideal candidate was going to look like. Another thing was, if I, being senior pastor at Trinity Fellowship, was simply going to be me leaving Nuevo campus, stop pastoring there, and become the pastor of Big Rapids campus, I was not excited about that, and I knew that wasn't going to be a fit. That was not the call. And yet what became clear and what was a burning passion in me and growing is that I was not becoming the pastor or campus pastor at Big Rapids campus, as I was being called to become the senior pastor of Nuevo campus, Big Rapids campus, and even beyond, as the Lord might lead. And so as I entered into that, and that became clear, and I saw that candidate profile come out for the first time in the fall, I looked and read through that, and I almost teared up. I was like, Lord, that's me. That is so me. What they are looking for, and the giftings and the experience and the need and the passion, that's me. And so I'm going to enter fully into this process and continue to surrender to you, and that you would make it clear, because I don't want to assume anything. And so when it went to a national search and all these other pastors, I said, Lord, yes, there might be a better fit out there, and we want what's best not only for me, but what's best for Trinity Fellowship, because I love this church. I love this area, this community. I would be so honored and privileged and blessed if I could become the senior pastor and lead in that. But if not me, then I want the best fit for Trinity, so that Trinity might thrive in this next season. God has given us a gift in Gary DeBach for 40 plus years, and he has laid an amazing foundation. And to build upon that, and to multiply out from that into West Central Michigan and beyond, what an opportunity. And that just became so clear in this process. So I just shared, this is me, with the search team, with the elders. I was not trying to get a position just to get a senior pastor position. This was not just a job for me. This was a clearly, guys, this is me. Take it or leave it. This is who I am. This is who God has made me to be. And this is the burning passion in me, especially a multi-site vision. There's something amazing about being multi-site, and that God had just continued to stir that in me. This is not about Nuevo campus. This is not about Big Rapids campus. This is about what God is doing in Trinity Fellowship and beyond. and that together as one church in 2 locations, we might expand the gospel footprint in West Central Michigan and beyond and become a kingdom resource center, which has always been a value of ours. And I just am so excited to be a part of that. And so when I finally found out, not too long ago, and the search team and the elders said, yes, it's you. I said, okay, God, this is it. Your hand has been on this process. We've been praying. I've been praying. Jenny's been praying. The kids have been praying, and we've been praying. God, make it so clear. And God has made it so clear. I am not leaving Trinity Fellowship. I'm not leaving Newaygo campus. I'm going from becoming pastoral resident to community life pastor to Newaygo campus pastor to now, should the Lord continue to lead our congregation and there's a 90% vote and all that, I'm still surrendering to the Lord's hand in all this, that I will become the next senior pastor of Trinity Fellowship. And what an honor and what a blessing. Not a lot of words at this point, but just thank you, and we'll see how God continues to lead. We want to follow His lead and keep in step and in time with His Spirit. And I'm so excited for what God has next, for this next season of Trinity Fellowship.